Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and this morning I'm looking at a loose leaf work which has been produced by Jordan's Publishing. It's a very important area of law that they cover. It's called Individual Voluntary Arrangements. I'll show you the loose leaf reference in a moment. My wife Elizabeth and I have written a review of this work, which is a first-class work, and we've given it the title Full, Final and Ultimate Information with Relevant Case Law and Revisions to Practice and Procedures for IVAs. And the people involved in producing this work, the consultant editor is Stephen Lawson, the general editor is Paul French, and the editors are Giles, Frampton and Jonathan Middleton. I'll tell you a little bit about the work in a minute. This is it. It's one volume. There it is there. That's the side of it. You can probably see the front. There's nothing at the back. The work itself, there's a CD, which you can probably see there, which is in the front. And then you've got the standard structure. There's a loose leaf updating section right at the beginning. Then you have the table of cases. Then after that, you have the law and practice relating to IVAs. Then you go on to the next section, which is on precedents. Then you have section C, draft proposals for IVAs. Then you have notice of application for interim orders if necessary. Then you have draft letters, nominee to debtor. Then you have further letters, draft letters, supervisors' letters. Then you have part C, the legislation that is used to allow these schemes to run. Then professional guidance towards the back, a miscellaneous section. Then you have a very detailed index, which is extremely useful. And then finally, you've got the updating filing record at the back. Remember, this is a loose leaf work, it's heavy, and it's got at the front the little area where you can take things out with that metal spine there, and then you can actually physically get to the documents you want if you're actually going to photocopy anything which you may need for court. Now, the one thing I would point out with this work, which is very useful, is that right at the beginning this is the actual front piece, if you like, of the work itself there. Then you've got the preface to update 35, and this is the one I'm reviewing is update 35, and it sets out what is being said at the moment. I'll refer back to that in a minute. There's not very much by way of the preface, but there is another couple of pages. Do read the preface very carefully, and then you'll go straight into the main content section, and that's right at the front. As I say, the person whose name appears is Stephen Lawson, because he's the consulting editor. It's a heavy book, I don't know how many pages, but a very large number. Now there it is. Now what we say about this is as follows. This is the ultimate statement of where the law is on IVAs and where it's to be found in our great common law system. There's nothing more authoritative, and the Jordan's loose leaf reference work is a binder which practitioners and the judiciary will place most reliance on, because you've got everything here. It's a heavy book, but you've got everything you actually need to know. A team of people are responsible for the binder, and I've mentioned their names. Stephen Lawson as the consulting editor, Paul French, Giles Frampton and Jonathan Middleton. And it's important to read the preface at the front, which I showed you, with the current update number 35, which has been written by Paul French. One underlying and highly significant current theme, which is of greatest, I think, significance to the user, is the commentary from the Insolvency Service on the minimal amount of a debt a creditor needs to be owed in order to petition the court for someone's bankruptcy. It's been £750 since 1986. Whilst describing bankruptcy as an extremely expensive way of recovering low-level debts, it concludes, quote, that as a tool for returning money to creditors in low-value cases, it is largely ineffective. Great! Let's hope something will be done about the level shortly. I and many others have asked and got nowhere in our requests to successive Chancellors of the Exchequer on this matter, and I would like to see a change, because clearly this is a walnut to be cracked by a sledgehammer, effectively, in many of these cases. Not the large amounts, but the smaller amounts. In common with other publishing companies, Jordan Publishing Limited have produced a series of fundamental loose-leaf works, of which this is one, and they concentrate on particular legal disciplines relevant for counsel, and this one is such a volume. We can't do without these works to carry out our professional, legal and advisory duties properly, because they contain everything that is current about a specific aspect of law for which legal research has to be undertaken. Here, the subject, of course, is insolvency. Most lawyers will remember from their student and early days in practice just how much reliance can and must be placed on up-to-date, concise and detailed works which we need for court, for opinions and for general drafting. We're pleased to say that Jordan's are the leader publishers in this particular field, with their excellent reference and research material, which of course is also online, and do get used to the online side of it. Individual Voluntary Arrangements from Jordan's is a world leader for personal insolvency matters. There are regular updates which establish the basis for the loose-leaf reference work format and the ease with which pages can be changed where the law is revised. We just take out and insert the new pages. There's also an online service, which I just mentioned, which is particularly relevant to today's savvy web user, although we recognise that some users will have initial difficulties with the navigation of the various sites, so it's a matter of getting used to the new way of doing things. The general advice given is to practice using the site and all its sub-areas, either on your PC or the tablet. It's rather like getting used to a new mobile telephone handset, because they all have their different little quirks, but you will get there with a good understanding of what the online system offers, quite quickly actually as it happens, because practice makes perfect. Can we offer a word of warning about the loose-leaf works in general? Don't expect too much until you're conversant with where things are in the volumes. There's only one volume with this one, but you see already it's split into sections, alphabetic sections, but you've got to really know your way around to find the bits that you're looking for. Remember that there's a tremendous amount of information available, because this is where the law's stored, and always be aware that the concept of ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's one of those little legal fictions which politicians and judges love, because we all know that you can't possibly be aware of much of what is in these loose-leaf files, which is why the legal research is needed in the first place. The other main point to be aware of is that some practitioners will assume erroneously that the online side of the work will offer you everything you may need for court. This is of course not the case. The loose-leaf reference makes it easier to copy pages for court, which you will need for the other side, but don't forget that your judge may not use computers regularly either, or even like them. So you do have to know your way around the book itself, or the reference work itself. And then there's the court service itself, which is currently being reshaped in the post-legal aid for all era, so that these Jordan's facilities, the online plus the loose-leaf works, will come to be accepted, we think, as a brilliant step forward, because they're coming more commonplace in chambers and the courts, and for ADR as well, of course, including what we're getting now, video links as they come into regular usage, to avoid lots of time delays, unnecessary adjournments, and of course travel costs for the parties. As I say, this IVA from Jordan's just has the one single binder. A number of them obviously have a series of binders. And I'm looking at a number of the products which Jordan's produce because they're so helpful to us as practitioners. Let me conclude by saying this binder is where you find the hands-on detail which you will need, and thankfully it's updated very regularly as part of the service which Jordan's offer. Right at the back you've got the updating form, which I showed you right at the end, which allows you to manually list the changes as old loose-leaf pages are removed and new ones added to reflect changes in law and practice. And the laws stated for this update 35 as at the 2nd of October 2014, and it will obviously be updated continually. Let's just have a quick look at it again. Very heavy. Don't forget the CD, was very helpful. And then, as I say, the important point to remember is to look very much at the opening remarks by the author in the preface there, which does tell you what he's been doing with the new update. Then you've got the actual contents. I'm just opening it up just to show you. You see the contents are quite detailed as well, so you shouldn't have too much difficulty finding. Remember, there is the index at the back, which is there. And again, you will get, if you haven't used these loose leaf works, you'll need a little bit of practice at getting to know where you look, because for instance with the index you do actually have the alphabetic A or whatever number it is, and then the page, which you'll find actually at the bottom of the work. If you just show it there, that's where you'll actually find it. But as I say, you have a huge amount of information, and there's a lot of substantial detail for any difficulties. The proposal, for instance, the general considerations right at the beginning. I'm very pleased with this. This is just the sort of work we need. We have them in the main law libraries at the 4 Inns of Court, and obviously if your practice is specifically in this area, this publication is a must. So can I thank all the people involved in this, and particularly Jordan's, for both the CD, the work itself and the online presence. It's extremely helpful to us as the practitioners. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.